All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on this hidden pattern that really determines which companies rise and which ones fall. It's a surprisingly simple curve, but believe me, understanding it is the absolute key to survival in the chaotic world of technology. So let's just dive right in with this question because it's one of the biggest paradoxes in business. You've got these titans of industry, right? They're flush with cash, oceans of talent, and they still get completely sideswiped by a handful of people in a garage. Seriously, how does this keep happening? Well, it's because the next big thing, it almost always starts out looking like a clumsy, underperforming toy. Just think of the first digital cameras. They were slow, the resolution was terrible, and they were crazy expensive. Kodak, the king of film, they just looked at them and laughed. They completely missed the point. That clumsy little toy was on a path to make their entire business model obsolete. And this all leads us to a really critical insight. Winning isn't just about chasing every shiny new gadget. The real skill is identifying the right technology for the right moment. See, the key here is context. It is all about context. A technology is never just good or bad in a vacuum. I mean, think about it. Coal powered the entire Industrial Revolution, which made it wildly appropriate for its time. But today, in a world that's fighting climate change, it's a huge liability. The technology didn't change, the world around it did. Okay, so how on earth are you supposed to navigate this constantly changing landscape? Well, you need a map. And luckily, there's a surprisingly simple yet incredibly powerful tool that can show you the past, the present, and the future of any technology. It's called the S-curve. This S shape, it tells a universal story. So on the vertical axis, going up, we've got performance. Think of a car's top speed or a computer's processing power. And on the horizontal axis, across the bottom, that's all the effort and investment being poured in. And what it shows us is this really predictable life cycle of innovation. It all kicks off in the embryonic phase, and this is a messy, frustrating crawl. Then, all of a sudden, it hits the growth phase, and that's like a rocket ship, just a steep climb of rapid improvement. But, all rockets eventually run out of fuel, and that's the maturity phase. That's where you hit a wall, and every tiny little improvement starts costing a fortune. And let me tell you, knowing where you are on this curve is absolutely everything. It is the difference between investing your money in a rocket ship and just pouring it down a dead end. So in those early stages, you're all in. The strategy is simple. Invest and build. You're nurturing a future star. But once it matures, the whole game flips. The strategy becomes harvest and divest. You squeeze every last drop of profit out of it, but you stop feeding it new money. Its time in the sun is over. Okay, so the S-curve is our map. Great. But a map's pretty useless if you don't know where you're standing on it, right? That's where our instruments, our tools, come into play. First up, we've got the Market Technology Matrix, and this thing is your reality check. It's brutally honest, and it reminds you that having the coolest, most advanced tech is worthless if you don't actually know how to sell it. If you've got high tech but low market skill, you're pretty much doomed. And what's so important here is that this idea completely debunks that old myth. Build a better mousetrap and the world will beat a path to your door. It's just not true. The world's best technology will sit on a shelf and gather dust if you can't connect it to a real customer need and build a real business around it. All right, next tool in the kit is the Buyer Utility Map. Now, if the matrix was our compass, think of this as your high-powered telescope. It forces you to look way beyond your product and to examine the entire customer journey, from the moment they think about buying all the way to when they get rid of it. And it helps you search for those hidden opportunities. The question it forces you to ask isn't just, hey, is my product good? It's, where is my customer's life unnecessarily difficult? Because that's where true innovation often comes from, solving those overlooked everyday frustrations. So imagine this. You've got your map, you've got your tools, you're navigating perfectly. Everything is going great. But then, bam! The unthinkable happens. The very ground shifts beneath your feet. A whole new map gets drawn. And this, right here, is the moment of disruption. A rival technology appears. That's Curve B on your screen. It starts off looking, well, pathetic compared to the established leader, Curve A. But just look at its ceiling. Its potential for improvement is off the charts. Remember those first digital cameras? They were awful, but their potential was almost infinite. And this creates the ultimate strategic nightmare. What do?
Do you keep milking your current very profitable technology? Or do you bet the farm on this ugly, underperforming newcomer? This is the innovator's dilemma, and it's the very thing that brings giants to their knees.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? How do you actually survive? Let's bring it all together into a practical guide. Okay, here it is, your survival guide. First, you have to know your S-curve. No excuses. When you see it start to flatten out, that's your signal it's time to harvest, not double down and overinvest. At the same time, you have to be like a hawk, constantly scanning the horizon for that next clumsy-looking curve, and you have to have the guts to leap to it, even when it feels like taking a step backwards. And this leaves us with one final, and I think crucial question. Every single industry, I don't care if it's cars or healthcare, is on an S-curve that's nearing its peak. And somewhere, right now, someone is building the next one. So the only question is, will you be the one who builds it or the one who gets left behind?